Hello and a warm welcome back to the channel of Car Nonsense. Now in this life we're always told you can be whatever you want to be, and I think that's true up to a point, but sometimes you got to know when to stick to your lane and stick to what you're good at, which is why I had such a short-lived career as a hairstylist. But BYD, Chinese purveyors of mostly electric cars, have produced this, the Seal U, and it's not an electric car, it's a plug-in hybrid. I smell a rat. Is it going to be a little bit rubbish or is it going to be okay? That's what this video is for, because I'm going to tell you. Duh. Well, it's definitely confusing as heck, especially if you're used to the trim levels of modern Western cars, because this has got 3 trim levels, but they've all got the exact same stuff on them. So this starts from £33,000 for a boost model, and what changes is the power and the battery arrangement. So in that entry level one, you get a 1.5 litre petrol engine with 96 horsepower, 200 horsepower of electric motor, and an 18 kilowatt hour battery that's good for about 50 miles of electric driving on paper. The mid-spec one gives you a bigger battery, about 26 kilowatt hour, which is good for 78 miles on paper of electric driving, which is a lot. Then this top spec one gives a turbo on the petrol engine, but the smaller battery. So it is all-wheel drive, it's over 320 horsepower, but electric range drops to about 40 miles, and it's £15, that's 10 and 5, over the 40 grand luxury car threshold. Brilliant. I'm going to start back here and walk over there, because this is 4.77 meters long. It's about the same length as that Volkswagen Tayron or a Skoda Kodiaq. Weighs 2.1 tons in this dual motor design trim, and looks-wise, it's kind of got that slightly aquatic, anonymous sleekness of Timothy Dalton's James Bond in a whale suit. It's meant to look all under the sea, and I see what they're doing. It's got the kind of slightly fish face on it, and it's got these U-shaped daytime running lights that look like they came from a Renault Clio of the previous generation, LED headlights. I think it's fine. It's just nothing expressive. It's sort of like a fish who's had his lips sewn together. It's sort of, Okay, I really quite like the Seal U's interior. Like the normal Seal, it's got this kind of like swoopy elements coming down there. It's got loads of stuff in it as standard. And as I said at the start, you get all of this on the 33 grand entry level model. So you get twin wireless chargers, a crystal knob there, a 16-inch infotainment screen, which we'll come back to in a second, digital dashboard, heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated front seats, wireless CarPlay, and yeah, it's got everything. Anything you could really want apart from possibly massage seats. Bit of storage in here, which is quite deep, probably just a black hole on YouTube. You've got a full-size glove box and some okay-sized door bins. You also get a 10-speaker sound system as standard as well. But anyway, the infotainment system, as you can see, CarPlay is fired up there, and you can press this button here on the steering wheel to rotate the screen, but it won't work if you're using CarPlay. CarPlay only works if you've got it in portrait mode. So if I come out of CarPlay and then rotate it, you're going to see the problem with this. There we go. My ND filter there has done exactly what your polarized sunglasses will do. If you've got polarized sunglasses on, you just can't see the screen when it's in that format. And likewise, the head-up display, which is also standard on all of them, disappears completely if you've got polarized sunglasses on. That's not true of all head-up displays. Some manufacturers get around that. BYD is one of the worst I've seen because it does just disappear. Right, infotainment system. My problems with it are that you've got to press too many buttons to get into the climate control settings. And if you want to put the heat, let's see, I can't do split screen. I just want to rotate it. There we go. Sorry, I'm going to have to adjust my camera again because that's going to go black, and there we are. So if I want to put the seat ventilation on, which I do because it's hot, you've got to go into this menu. That's eyes off the road while you're driving. It's got loads and loads of stuff in it, but it's a bit like some kind of jailbroken Android tablet with 1,000,001 settings that are sort of hidden. There's all sorts of weird ambient lighting stuff you can do. You can set the charge it will hold in the battery. You can tell it whether to save the charge or use it. The high regenerative braking isn't a one-pedal driving mode. I wish it was stronger. You can adjust the seats through here. You end up having to go into ADAS and safety assist and go down here to turn off the speed limit warning bong. That's a lot to do while you're driving along. I know you should do it before you drive, but we all forget, don't we? Yeah, there's 1,000,001 settings in there. It all gets a little bit confusing, and I think they need to declutter it a bit. And for some reason, It tells you how clean the air is inside and outside. I guess maybe that's a China thing, and also the inclination of the road you're on. Exciting stuff. I fundamentally, if you're using wireless CarPlay, it's fine, but some of the settings for things are a bit buried. And yeah, there's a button on the steering wheel to rotate the screen, and also one here to activate the 360 camera, which is kind of handy actually. When you go into a car wash or something, you don't have to look for a button down there to avoid curbing your wheels. But there we go, cabin, I think is mostly quite nice. One other bit of storage that you couldn't see from up there is you've got two USB-Cs and a 12 volt and a big old tray down there under the center console, and also a little coin tray or something there. And a fuel flap release button. I guess that is for holding toll cards or toll tickets as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty decent for you. 33 grand, ignoring the fact this one's 40. Backseat space in the Seal U at first looks really good. Look, that's my driving position. I'm 6'3", so I can fit behind myself with loads of knee room to spare. But actually foot room, that's tighter than me 3 days before payday. That is not very good. Headroom is only just about okay. I've got less than 2 fingers of headroom before I hit my head on the roof, and this panoramic sunroof does drop that down. Now you can pull a little fabric strap to adjust the recline of the seats. And if I have it all the way up, yeah, my head's right in the ceiling, so I have to sit back a bit so I can clear the roof. But look, I've got a flat floor here, I've got 2 USB-Cs, I've got okay door bins, but they don't go into the door very far, so stuff will probably fall out of those, but got some nice green leather stitching here. This feels a little bit high. If you've got kids in the cars, they might not be able to see out. And I've got an armrest in the middle, so it's a mixed bag really. Spacious that way, but not upwards. That's what I would say. In fact, that's what I've said. Now, I'm going to be more generous than my local Pizza Express staff by saying the design of the back end of the Seal U is slightly derivative. It's just got a light bar like everything else. Now, you're probably not going to be buying this to tow stuff with. If you get the 2-wheel drive version, you can tow 750 kilograms. This 4-wheel drive setup can do 1.3 tons, which is still not as much as something like a Volkswagen Tayron. The boot's smaller as well, 425 litres. That's really not much on paper. That's only 40 litres more than a hatchback, like a Golf or something like that. The boot is reasonably deep. It's not very tall though, and you've got a little bit of space under there for your gubbins, but it hasn't got any clever features either. There are no handles to flip down the back seats, and as far as I can tell, no 12-volt socket either. So a bit of a swing and a miss. This electric boot lid though is standard on all of them, and it beeps gently as it goes down. But anyway, should we go and drive it? I think we should. Okay, what is this BYD Seal U DM-i like to drive? To be upfront, it's a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. The hybrid system works actually surprisingly well. Normally, and this is a bit of a sweeping generalization, I've not driven that many Chinese cars recently with good petrol engines and gearboxes, but the setup in this does work quite well. When the petrol engine kicks in, it's actually really quite hushed and refined. You have to really keep an ear out for it, and it's only when you properly boot it that you can hear it kind of thrumming away in the background, and the switch over between petrol and electric power is really seamless. So the hybrid system, as I kind of hoped, given BYD's battery expertise, is really good. Performance though, not as strong as you'd think for a 320 horsepower car. It depends on the battery state of charge, but it's very softly mapped on the accelerator. You can put it in sport mode, which I would recommend doing actually. Not often I recommend putting it in sport mode, but that just gives the otherwise way too light steering a little bit of heft. So hybrid stuff, good. I've been getting about 45 miles per gallon out of it on long runs with the battery depleting and with the car deciding to use the engine to charge the battery at various points on that trip, which I think is okay. You're looking at a realistic total range with a full tank of petrol and a full battery of about 450, 500 miles in this model. I think you get close to 600 if you get the mid-spec one. You know, the mid-spec one with the better battery than this top-spec one? Yeah, that one. You get more like 600. So powertrain-wise, the BYD Seal U's all right, actually. It's efficient enough and it's refined enough. What isn't quite so good is the suspension setup. Now, the ride quality is nice and soft, and I like that on the road. It's not trying to be a sports car, and this hasn't got a sporty bone in its body. When you drive it fast, it's kind of gets into understeer, as you might expect. But it just never settles on its suspension. On a bumpy road, it might be cushioned, but it feels like you're on an old waterbed a little bit. It's just a bit meh, to be honest. I think it needs a bit more body control. But in terms of other stuff, the mirrors are a decent size. The view out the back is actually quite compromised by a small rear window and thick rear pillars, as with many other modern SUVs. It's just, I don't know. It's a little bit middle of the road to drive, and some of its rivals are much better. Then there are other things like the amount of information on the driver's display. There's just too much, and it's too higgledy-piggledy. My eyes aren't really working out what's important. And you know, when you look at your AEC, which I think is the efficiency, it adds MPG and then adds a negative figure for electric miles per kilowatt hour per 100 miles, and then comes out with an MPG figure. It's doing sums. I don't want algebra on my dashboard. Just tell me how many MPG I'm doing. Likewise, up here, it's telling me the air quality inside and out, as well as the incline of the road I'm on. I don't need all this stuff. Filter that rubbish out. But anyway, it's okay to drive. It's comfortable enough. It's just a little bit too roly-poly for my liking. So let's head back to me for what I like to call a conclusion. Conclusion. Oh, that's cricking my neck. Ow. All right, time to sum up my thoughts on the BYD Seal U DM-i with hyphens and letters in it. Look, I don't love it and I don't hate it. These are the hardest cars to review because they're in that sort of 7 out of 10 territory where they do some things well and some things not well, and it depends on your budget whether you should buy one. Now, at £33,000 for the entry-level model, you get all of that interior tech, all of that kit, those ventilated seats, the wireless CarPlay, the massive screen, all the bits and bobs, for 33 grand, which none of its Western rivals can do. A similarly priced Nissan Qashqai doesn't have anything, really. So it is good value for money. However, the driving experience is just a bit too wallowy for me. There are too many bongs and the infotainment software, and the user experience is just too cluttered and too fussy. The steering's a little bit too light unless you put it in sport mode, and it's not massively efficient, getting 46 mpg out of it. So it's a bit of a swing and a miss as far as I'm concerned. That's not to say it's a terrible choice if you've got about mid £30,000 and you want a plug-in hybrid SUV, but you've not got much boot space either. So if you are a big family, like I'm not a big family, I have a family, I have 2 young kids, this wouldn't really do the job for our summer camping trips. So anyway, it's scraping a 7 Tim Roadies out of 10 Tim Roadies. Yeah, for all the reasons that I've listed in this video. I'm not going to go over them again. But thank you for watching. If you've liked this, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more sensible car reviews and some slightly less sensible car reviews, and I'll see you in the next one. Just go down to the comments if you wouldn't mind and leave me the Chinese word for the sausage was not cooked through to the middle. Goodbye.